variant variant, how effective it is. Is it something which could really be causing a serious worry, or it is manageable? You need to be watchful, but you need to be scared. Let's discuss that, and to understand that and to get an independent view of the situation, let me now bring on board Mr. A. Vaidheesh. He's Informers Authority to tell our viewers that how vaccines are effective. He's been walking our viewers through this entire pandemic with his thoughts on the vaccine discovery, and the entire vaccination process. Vaidheesh, fantastic to have you back on ETNOW. Thank you for joining us. There is a lot of confusion on the communication around the new virus variant. What is your sense? The current vaccines, are they effective? Are they less effective? Or are they effective not at all?
Good morning, Nikunj. And first and foremost, I really don't know why there is a confusion, because I think WHO has and also ICMR, they have been very clear, because there's Omicron, which is recently being talked about, which has come from South Africa. There is a lot of hypothesis at this point of time. We don't have enough evidences to come to a conclusion to the question that you asked. Whether vaccines are going to be effective, whether the corticosteroids, IL-6 receptor blockers are going to be effective, is it bigger than, better than, or severe than Delta? These are the questions that are being asked, and still we have a long way to go to get the answer. So frankly, in my opinion, it's not about confusion, it is the anxiety people are talking about. Even in South Africa, they have not come to a conclusion why that increase in rates of infection is going up. Is it because of the new variant, or is it just the population is first time they are getting hit by COVID? So my answer to you is that at this point of time, people are anxious, but not necessarily it's a confusion. It happens to every variant. It happened in Delta, right? When Delta came in, at that time, people are wondering what will happen. Now they come to a conclusion. Vaccines are effective against, some vaccines are effective against Delta, some of them are not. And protocol has come in. So at this point of time, I would say just stay cautious and not to be alarmist.
He's not giving us a clear indication. The indication came from Moderna yesterday, exactly 24 hours ago, was that the existing set of vaccines are not that effective, which is they need to come up with a new variant. Is it like pharma companies trying to indicate that a new booster is required? It's in their business interest to talk like this, but what is the medical reality?
See, Nikunj, we need to stick to one credible source of information. Correct? I agree with you. When pharma companies publish some data like that, it can cause confusion. I'm a strong believer in talking to the scientific community and get the information from them which are credible. WHO, ICMR, and we should trust them rather than getting pulled by some of these evidences. I don't know why Moderna has said the others are not effective, because still the structure is gene sequencing has not been done at a global level, right? It's going on right now. So, the boost, as you rightly said, right now there are no concrete evidences to show that you need a booster, correct? At this point of time, the boosters are being recommended in some of the countries, primarily for the vulnerable population. They've said not necessarily everybody need to take a booster. And then the cell-mediated response would have happened in vaccine that we have taken. So we still don't know the memory cells have been formed or not. So frankly, in my opinion, some of these information that you get can create a lot of panic. Frankly, in my opinion, I would not get panicked, because I think we need to trust our scientific authority, scientific community. There are no conclusive evidences to say any of the stuff that is being talked about, and it will evolve. And we should go back to these authorities to give us a clarity. At this point of time, I can clearly see there are very, very fewer data to suggest severity of the illnesses, and also the transmissibility. There are a lot of hypotheses out there, but still not yet concluded. So I would be very cautious in making such statements.
Talk about a very basic theory, the theory of Darwin. It says survival of the fittest. So scientifically speaking, all viruses they will mutate. But if the viruses are mutating, does that mean that they are stronger, or they are mutating and they're spreading, and the potency is getting reduced?
No, that's a very good question. See, what happens is many times these variants, uh, as it start mutating, even here on COVID also will mutate more. We'll get more variant. At a point of time, it will all virus at a point of time, it has its own self-limiting cycle. Whatever mutation it happens. And when the population prepare the defense, if most of the population of the world are vaccinated, there's a very good defense for virus to start weakening, right? So at this point of time, large portion of the population is not vaccinated when all over the world. So that's the reason why these mutations are taking place. So as soon as we create the wall, I guess it will take about a year or two, then automatically this whole mutation will lose its significance and no longer becoming a very aggressive virus that can threaten.
Right. Mr. Vaidheesh, while the government is doing its bit, and at least the government of Maharashtra has been pretty fixated on mandating a 7-day quarantine, negative RT-PCR test, validity up to 48 hours. But you think travel quarantines are enough to try and curb the virus if indeed it were to, enter the Indian lands?
See, frankly, in my opinion, based on our experience of the past, I think frankly, I belong to the traditional and conservative way of looking at it. We need to be a little more paranoid, okay, for lack of a better word. So, and very well, these variants are coming from other parts of the world. So that's the reason why the travel, people coming from outside, you need to make sure you put solid measures. We don't miss any of those stuff. So is it a very tough system that we are putting in place? Frankly, in my opinion, it's worth it. Because even if you do it for about a month, to that extent, you are preventing a chance of this variant entering into our country, like what happened in some, the earlier time, 18 months back. So I would support that, though it's a little paranoid from a point of view of people who are regularly doing business, though a number of cases are declining in India. But with the current information where there's a lot of doubts about this whole new variant, it's better to be cautious. I would support that.
Mr. Vaidheesh, the other thing that you were just chatting about with Nikunj as well, while there are a lot of grey areas with regards to a vaccine for the Omicron variant and still debatable because Pfizer just the other day did say that, within 100 days they can come up with a vaccine for this new variant as well. A lot of debate and conjecture still around whether or not a vaccine is the answer to this new variant or not, because certain sections do believe that vaccines are not really working. We don't know how this entire situation is going to pan out. But in the interim, do you think that while we are awaiting a vaccine for the new variant, perhaps a booster shot is necessary for the Delta variant, because that's already started in the US and yet to happen in India?
See, these are all what I call it as possibilities people wanting to have. But you need to remember, our first aim should be to cover all the adults. Today, even in India, we have not covered all the adults. So let the current vaccine be made available for the adults. Make sure most of the people get that vaccine. Second, booster need not necessarily will take care of this variant to start with. We don't have any evidences. So frankly, in my opinion, 2 doses, there are enough evidences to show that you can protect yourself from a Delta variant. So this booster, in my opinion, there's a lot of discussion that's happening. Frankly, it's not something imminently that we need to be doing against this variant, because you don't even know the structure of the new variant. Some parts of the variant might have changed, right? That's why they are saying that whether current vaccines have what it takes to deal with that. Now, if current evidence is saying yes, and companies like Pfizer and Moderna are saying, no, we need to come up with a vaccine which specifically attack that particular change structure of that virus, right? Or gene. So frankly, in my opinion, booster right now, we shouldn't get into this alarmist thing about everybody need to get a booster. Let's make sure that all the adults get it in our country. That will be a view. I don't think we should panic at this point of time about the booster. What all the protocols of COVID protocols, washing the hand, putting the double mask, and not to have this large gathering of marriages that we are hearing in India now, and particularly during the winter season. Frankly, in my opinion, this is the time where we need to be very careful to avoid large gatherings. I think that's what the government is also saying, till the time we get a clarity about the new variant.
Vaidheesh, the Delta variant, if I may use that for reference, when it started, everyone thought that, look, this is just a normal mutation. It will come under control. And that time vaccines had just about started rolling out. Yet it turned out to be a nightmare. The casualties, the numbers, it really broke the back of the infrastructure. I shudder to think that if this variant spreads like this, could we be reaching there? Or now that vaccine rollout has happened, the spread will be high, but the casualty will not be there, which is that, okay, you'll have to quarantine yourself, there would be change in your routine, you'll have to stay at home, but 10 to 15 days, you'll be back on your feet.
I think, you brought in a very nice couple of good options, right? See, you have to remember when the Delta variant hit, still the vaccine rollout was not significant at all in our country or in many other countries. So to that extent, that variant had an impact on people in terms of morbidity and also mortality. Today, we are talking about, particularly if you ask me, metro towns. That's where this foreign entry and all happens, right? Today, metro towns, our coverage is pretty good. So as you know that if you're vaccinated, you are, even if you get reinfected, or people who got COVID getting reinfected, what they are saying at this point of time, it's going to be mild. It's not going to be as severe as what we saw in the Delta. At this point of time, the data is all drawing up to the fact that double vaccination is very critical. You can deal with that. It's not going to be as catastrophic as. Now, that's our current pool of information, body of knowledge that has got, and people are very confident. As you know, that all the scientists that you must be talking to must be saying the same thing, right? So, alarmist is something which I don't see that as a big challenge at this point of time.
Is that because you're an optimistic person? I mean, optimism is important.
No, I don't think it's more than optimism. It's also about, the science, right? How it all happened, enough information is coming. So we got to be careful about not to get pulled into some of the commercial enterprise making some statement. I think that's where we all get pulled into debates and conversation. I think we should stick to speaking to the scientists, credible sources, whom we trust. And that's where I'm optimistic. It's not that generally I'm optimistic. I'm listening to podcasts and talking to some other people. At this point of time, personally, I'm not worried, apart from being optimistic.
Honest, very forthright, and I think our viewers should take notice of the communication, that what is the origin of the communication. They say in markets that you never ask a barber if you need a haircut. The barber will always say, yes, you need, because that's good for your business. So look at the origin of the comment. If it is from a commercial enterprise, well, you can decide whether you want to take it with a pinch of salt or not. Vaidheesh, really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. Let's take a break. We are from the day's high, but on a relative basis today, we are doing much better than what US markets did last night and what we are doing in terms of our counterparts.